our squat series is going to be all about breathing, bracing, and belts. So I get asked questions about these things all the time. I figured this would be the easiest way to give you all that information all at once. So I'm going to go over how to use them, when to use them, and give you some exercises to improve your breath patterns for your bracing and for all your lifts. So before we even talk about the belt, we're going to talk about breathing and bracing. I personally like to work with my athletes for a few months on breathing and bracing before I even ever have them put a belt on for their lifts. It's so essential to learn how to breathe correctly, how to brace correctly under a bar or when you're pulling a bar before you even put a belt on. That way you're preventing injury, you're maximizing your performance, and you're not wasting hundreds of dollars on an item that you're not using correctly. So we're going to talk a little bit about breathing. So very often you'll see someone set up under the bar, walk it out, their friends are yelling at them, big air, and they'll go, that is not going to help you if you are squatting. When we are breathing for the sport of powerlifting, for the purposes of bracing, instead of trying to fill up with air, think about trying to breathe down. You want to, instead of trying to fill your chest, you're thinking about trying to fill your abdomen. You want to create as much intra-abdominal pressure as you possibly can. So instead of thinking of it as 180, trying to just push your belly out, you want to think about trying to create 360 degrees of pressure and space in your abdomen. This is going to create stability for you. It's going to protect your spine. It's going to allow you to maximize your performance under the bar. I'm going to show you an exercise that you can practice to make sure that you are breathing into your belly.
So with this exercise, you're actually going to lay on the ground with your feet up so your spine is in a neutral position. Your low back should be touching the floor, and you can place a light plate or weight on your abdomen so that you're actually breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth to make the plate rise up and down. You don't want to make your chest rise, you want to make your belly rise.
So now that we know how to breathe into our abdomen and create that intra-abdominal pressure, we're going to talk a little bit about bracing our core. When someone says brace in the sport of powerlifting, we're not just trying to flex our abs and show off our six-pack that most of us don't have anyway. We are trying to, like I said, create that intra-abdominal pressure. So we are trying to really activate and create space with our obliques, with our erectors, with our glute medius. We're going to use our abdomen as well. We're trying to push that air down. So we're not just trying to tighten, we're trying to create space and then hold and create this tension throughout our entire trunk. When you do that, especially under the bar, you can practice even just standing up. You're gonna take that big air down and push out with everything around this area. When you do that, you're gonna start to feel your glutes are gonna tighten up, everything is gonna tighten up, and you're creating that stability that you really need to be under a heavy amount of weight. So now that we talked about breathing and bracing, we're gonna talk about belts. So when you're wearing a belt, there are different places that you can wear it. Some people prefer to wear it higher, some people wear it lower, some people like to wear it higher for squat, lower for deadlift, some people wear their belt for bench. There are many different places to put it, but it really comes down to personal preference. Wherever you feel it's helping you the most and it's creating the most amount of support. So most people will put a belt on for the first time and they crank it as tight as they possibly can, and they can't even talk and they can't even breathe, and they need like 6 of their friends to get them out of it, and they, do one of these to try to get it on and off, and it's crushing and squishing their ribs. I hear all the time people saying that their ribs hurt after wearing their belt. If you have it that tight, it's really difficult, almost impossible, to create that space in your abdomen and push against the belt. We want to have the belt in a position where it is tight, but you can still fit your hand or a couple fingers at least in between your body and the belt. That way you can create that intra-abdominal pressure that we talked about and create that space with your abdomen, your obliques against the belt. So when you're wearing your belt and you're trying to brace as hard as you possibly can under a load, you want to actually push, breathe down, push your core, your abdomen, your belly against the belt. So the belt isn't actually squishing you in, you are pushing against the belt. A lot of people think of the belt as being something that's supposed to support your low back. There are belts for that purpose, but when you're wearing a lifting belt to power lift, to weight lift, you are using the belt essentially to create a proprioception response in your body where this piece of leather is touching you and creates a stimulus that reminds you to breathe down and push against to create that space and stabilize and protect your spine and create more stability and tension throughout your body. So when you're squatting with your belt, you're going to get it in that position where it's tight but not too tight. You're going to create that space, 360 degrees of intra-abdominal pressure against your belt, pushing against your belt with your abdomen, your obliques, your back, everything. You're going to engage your glutes. You want to have that belt tight and in that position before you get under the bar. You're going to get under the bar, set up your shoulders like I talked about in my other video. Bring your hips through and underneath you. And then this is where you're actually going to take that big breath and push against your belt before you even walk out. You're going to get that big breath and walk out. Now here, you want to maintain that breath, pushing against the belt. You can draw in a little bit more air. Hopefully this information was helpful to you. If you have other questions about breathing, bracing, or anything powerlifting related, feel free to send me a message. If I don't have the information for you, I will send you to someone that does. So I hope you have an awesome week and happy squatting.